Hey, everybody. Welcome to KISS.
Keep it simple, sister.
Hey, Diana.
Hi, Samantha. How's it going today?
Lovely. Yeah, this is okay. So, this is the first sunny day in 7 days. And, and I did take a few minutes to enjoy it. And now I'm kind of my room. You can't tell because of the lighting, but it's kind of like a cave when I do these Zoom
Mm.
sessions, just to keep out any errant lighting or whatever. And I'm like, I know the sun's shining right on the other side of this wall.
Well, when we get done recording, you can go stand in the grass and ground yourself and soak up the
Still my
sun.
heart. So everybody, welcome to KISS. This is all about feeling great by feeling better, and we do this by these incremental steps that Diana and I have learned throughout the years. There are these like tips, tricks, techniques. There's products. There's different things that we have come to utilize that we have at our disposal that we can pick out of our magic bag whenever we're in a situation that we find more contrasty or challenging or what have you. And all of these practices help us to be more buoyant through life. And so this discussion we're going to have today is going to be right on target with one of Diana's favorite messages to tell people, which is what?
You matter. You matter.
Hmm.
And if you follow me on Instagram or Facebook, many days in the stories, I post something that says you matter.
And what's
Usually it has flowers involved because you matter. We as women spend so much time taking care of everyone else. We need to take care of ourselves too.
exactly? Yep. And I hear Diana say that so many times, and yet there are times when I need to say it back to you. And I don't know that I actually say you matter, but I think if women started saying you matter to each other more, like we say it in so many different ways.
Yeah.
Like, bitch, you don't need to put up with that shit. There
Totally.
there are so many different ways we say it, but
That's my favorite actually now. Bitch, you don't have to put up with that shit.
I think that when you're saying there's so much, I mean, I don't know if you feel it. You know how I'm always feeling out the energy of words, the
Yeah.
power of it. So every time you've said to me, you matter, it's like putting a period, the end, no further discussion.
Full stop.
Yeah,
You matter.
it's and to me that like if you had these things floating in the air around you, well, I need to go pick up dry cleaning and I need to go do this art project for my child because they're not getting it done like they're supposed to, and I need to run and get groceries, and I need to get this proposal done for my job. I feel like you have all these things around you and you're freaking out, and then when you stop, when you say you matter, I feel like all of that freezes and then just drops. That's I just
Well,
I
and I
have
think
that
we've been
imagery.
yeah, and I think we've been programmed that all of those things are what matter. And someday, sometime, maybe the end of today, or maybe 3 years from now, or maybe when I retire, maybe when I'm in the nursing home, I don't know, that's when I'll be able to take time for myself. No.
Yeah.
No. And really, when we're trying to schedule our days and our to do list or whatever, the
Mhm.
top needs to be fill your cup.
Yep.
You can't you can't help anybody else. It's the same thing as like when you're on the airplane and they say put that oxygen mask on yourself
Think
before
of
the
that.
children and the old people or whatever.
Yeah.
Um you really do need that because when you're out of energy, out of steam,
Mhm.
you don't have anything to give anybody else.
It's that expression of, "If mama ain't happy, nobody's
Ain't
happy."
nobody happy. I
Yep.
know. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm I didn't think I was gonna bring this up, but I am because, I had this conversation with my little sister who she's so thoughtful. I so embrace the way she considers her life. And she's so she found balance and loved having the balance between her work and doing what she loves and going all in and having space for family. But then it was like, but I want to add a man into my life. Where does that fit? And so she like so carefully thought it through. And I don't want to say she was over analytical. It was more this feeling, this sense of balance. So how can I make space and still show up as the person I want to show up as? So she was able to incorporate him into her life, shifting things around. Then they talked about having a child.
Whole new ball of wax.
Yeah. And so she's been trying to find the balance with the child. And I just said, there is no balance with a child. There's no balance, not when they're especially when they're young, you
Yeah.
know. Um, and then it moved into a conversation about staunch feminism, like feminism, like the idea that we are equal. Yes, hell yes, of course we are. Like, it's yes.
Well, I would venture to say superior.
Whoa.
I don't know that we always get the kudos for that, but in many areas, emotional intelligence is one of them. Communication is another one.
Okay, don't want to forget where I'm going with feminism, but I
Okay,
do want to
sorry.
bring this up because
Okay.
it's interesting you said that because again, I check, it's like I fact check in my mind. And I think that the masculine energy was actually superior when we as a society were more in our headspace, when we were more about survival. I
Mhm.
I think that I think women were just as strong, like mentally, emotionally, that kind of stuff. But I think it took a lot of the male physicality to get us through that. I think as we move more into the heart space, I think that women, I don't know if superior is the right word, but I think that we have the advantage because we are generally more connected with our emotions. And
Mhm.
that's, from the head space to the heart space, we're just naturally programmed. And that's where humanity's been going and
Yeah.
it's been shifting so quickly and men you know we okay, going back to the feminism thing is that women had to stand up, they had to be fierce in order to get rights and be recognized and all that kind of stuff. But that chant, that mantra, I can have it all, I can do it all, it's like yes, you can do it all, but you can't do it all at the same time
Right.
because then you are you're not showing up as the best version of who you are when you're trying to do it all at the very same moment. 'Cause
Well, and I think you're trying to do everything that was okay, in my mind, back to the 50s or the 40s or whatever, when everybody, when the moms stayed at home and they took care of the household and everything.
yeah.
And that was what was acceptable. That was what was expected. That's what everybody did. That's what you should have done. That's what you should do.
Mhm.
Now the expectation is to do all of those things plus
Mhm.
work a job, take care of the all of the financial things, take care of the I don't know.
And
Yeah.
somehow earn the same amount as men do. Okay, so again,
Although they won't pay you that in many, many places and many, many jobs.
exactly. So that's where I feel like feminism, like we went way too far and and now we're trying to come back to find the balance. But then I see kids in maybe we say the millennial generation or whatever, but I know, my daughter, she's 32, but like she's always tried to be equal, equal, throwing rent in, throwing money in for food.
Mhm.
And I'm like, your fiance earns, two-thirds more than what you have ever historically earned. And I'm
Right.
like, stop trying to keep up with him. Stop, like you two have got to sit down and talk about this because it's like there's this expectation of this equality and it's like we're equal in our rights to speak our mind. The financial aspect should have nothing to do with it, you
Well,
know.
also equal in the division of labor in your home.
Mhm.
Like, if you in my mind, if you don't if you can't contribute as much money, at least contribute everything you can to the home.
Mhm.
But just because your husband significant other is putting more money into the situation doesn't mean that they can sit on their butt and watch you work yourself to death.
Well, it's interesting that you said that because um, I think you guys have had more of a equal kind of thing with the bringing the finances in and stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas my husband and he's always brought in 2/3 to 3/4 more than I've ever brought in. And I went through a period of time where, in order to define my self worth, I worked myself ragged here at the house trying to prove my self worth.
Mhm.
And what was interesting about that was that was that it 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 wasn't, how do I say this? I'm trying to find the right way to express this because it wasn't that I needed to work to equal the amount of money he was making. The division of labor still should have been the division of labor at home. I shouldn't have had to do that much more, than
Mhm.
him to try to offset that I can't bring as much in.
Right.
But if I have the time to do the stuff
Right.
because, you know, whatever, but the equality in it, like, let's just admit women tend to, and we're being very generic here, right? But women tend to be more detail oriented. Now, there are men out there that are, but
Mhm.
women in the home tend to be more detail oriented. So we're going to be better at wiping down counters and picking stuff, off the floor because inevitably that's where it's left. And doing all of that kind of stuff. Whereas men tend to be better at the heavy lifting. And I mean, we can do it, sure, but they tend
Mhm.
to be, more prone to taking out trash and doing that kind of stuff. And I don't see any problem with that, Um, but going back to the whole that trend where I was working, and I know there's other women who do this, work so freaking hard because you're not bringing as much, so you're trying to balance it out. What does that say about yourself? Like, your very presence, and I'm not saying like this superiority wise or whatever, but your presence matters.
Yeah.
You are the nurturer. You are
Right.
the one that says, "Oh, baby, come here. Let me massage your shoulders. Oh, you've got a cold? Let me spend the next 2 hours figuring out what's the right medication for you."
Right. Exactly right.
Like that, we have so much more worth than what we realize, but society doesn't value that kind of worth.
Monetarily. Yeah.
Yes.
Or even compliment you for what you're doing or appreciate what you're doing or whatever. I
Mhm.
want to bounce you're absolutely right. I want to
Mhm.
bounce back to your sister. Um and my daughters are like your daughter around the same age, and I've noticed because Annie is applying for jobs and things, like I'm looking at the different like the descriptions of the jobs. And one of the big things is work life balance. For them, work life balance is huge and they expect it and they want it and they're going to get it. No one ever told us, our generation, that there should be, could be, would be work life balance. You couldn't have that.
No, you fucking go all in. You
Right.
put it all on the line and you make that happen.
Mhm.
You know
Well,
what
and then looking at what?
what my mom told me when I was in boarding school, and she said, "Sam, you need to read newspapers. You need to be very well read because a man's not gonna want you if you are not intelligent. They'll find someone else." Anyway, continue. But
Just an aside.
yeah, you had to be all of it. You had to be sexy and intelligent and, powerful,
Funny
making all
and
this money, and yeah, and just all of it, all of
yeah,
it.
yeah. But you matter. We matter. And
Mhm.
until we start looking at ourselves in the mirror in the morning and saying, "You matter. What do you need today?" before I jump in figuring out what everybody else needs.
Yeah,
We need to prioritize ourselves. And it's a hard thing to do because we were programmed. That's the way we were raised.
yeah,
And the feminine energy that you're talking about, we're nurturers, we're caregivers. So we want to care for people, but we have to keep reminding ourselves we need to care for ourselves.
yeah.
And what is that? What does that look like?
Mhm.
Well, what it looks like for me is I love flowers. I love flowers.
Mhm.
So, I've always loved flowers. So, I go to the grocery store and I buy myself flowers and I bring them home and I say to my husband, "You got me flowers when I went to the grocery store. Thank you. That was so sweet of you." Put them in a vase, love them for a week till they die. And
Ugh,
just today I said to my husband, "I think it's time for you to buy me more flowers. I'm not sure where I'm going to go get them, but it's time for you to buy me more flowers." And
and you're not
I
being
don't
sarcastic, you're not being
know.
critical.
Well, and the funny thing is, because he has Parkinson's and he has short-term memory, whatever, he'll text me and say, "Can you get ice cream and get yourself some flowers now?" Because I've programmed him that way. But also, he
Oh
now
my god.
realizes that
Mhm.
that's important to me. And he wanted to remind me to get myself some flowers from him. So that was very sweet.
Oh my
Um, I know, isn't that funny? But I've done it for years and years, and it could be $5 flowers. It could, like I'm not a big, I don't care.
You
And
just
then when
want
we lived,
the essence of them. Just
oh yeah, yeah, just the colors and yeah, I just love some flowers.
oh my god. I've told my kids know, and well, my husband knows, and somewhere along the line, my kids have heard the story, so they know that you do not get mom roses. You just
Because
don't
they
get mom
die.
roses because huh?
Because they die too fast.
No, because, um, well, I don't wanna do TMI, but when my father would kind of screw up, he would get my mom red roses. And so my mom hated red roses. They were the flower of apology. And so I'd try to make sure I
Mm,
never had red roses around. And I started to think about how many times, and I've told my husband the story several times. And so he is very careful. He's cognizant of, getting wildflowers
uh-huh.
and to get them when things are positive and to boost me,
Yeah,
that sort of
smart.
thing rather than the apology. Because,
Well, somewhere along the line,
we want to
someone
piss you
told
off.
Wedge that, and this is when we first started dating. He came to like we had a blind date, and then he came and picked me up for the next date, and he had a handful of um, what is it, lace, prince,
Oh, Queen Anne's lace?
Queen Anne's lace.
Yeah.
And that's all he got. He got Queen Anne's lace. And he came to the door to give me flowers. And I was like, "Oh, thank you. That's nice." In my mind, I'm thinking, "Did you just stop by the side of the road and pick a bunch of weeds and bring it to me? That's so sweet of you." But he had no idea.
Mhm.
So he wouldn't know whether to get roses or carnations or whatever. Anyway, he would know to get, and he went to a flower shop to get it and got me Queen Anne's lace.
That is very cool.
But I married him anyway. Whatever.
Well,
It's good.
I didn't know Queen Anne's lace. Um, it's actually fun fact here, folks. Queen Anne's lace is actually wild carrots.
Huh.
If you see Queen Anne's lace, you can pull it up at the root, and it's
Stop it.
carrots.
I did not know
And
that.
and I looked it up because I was going, "There's no way,
Yeah.
way." And then, there is a flower, a weed that is similar to Queen Anne's lace, and you have to be careful to know the difference,
Uh-huh.
because if you eat this flower, it will kill you.
Oh.
Poisonous.
Well, see, and this is
Nature's
why I
fascinating.
cannot be a naturalist, live off the grid kind of girl, because I'd be eating whatever, mushrooms that kill me,
Yeah, I have no
weeds that
idea.
kill me, but I would make some tea out of it and be out whatever. So, I'm just hoping that I can still continue to go to the grocery store for the rest of my life, and someone has determined whether or not it is something that's safe or not for me.
I love that. I wanna go back to when we talked about get it when you get up in the morning, look in the mirror and you say, "You matter."
Mhm.
Um, okay, that's an interesting one because, um, I think that a lot of women would have near to as much trouble doing that. I think it would be challenging because I when I'm doing life coaching sessions with clients and I
Uh-huh.
say to them, I just want you to visualize this. Close your eyes. Imagine there's a mirror in front of you and say to yourself, um, look yourself in the eye and say, I love you. I love you. And they're like, oh, no, 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 can't do it. can't do it. Um, and so then I start them on this whole thing of self-love, like having a romance with yourself. Like, and I think I might have mentioned this in one of our other podcasts,
Yeah, I
saying,
think
yeah,
we
that
did talk about it a
freckle,
little bit.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like just this is beautiful. This is beautiful. And to do it by candlelight, get yourself flowers, get yourself a
Uh-huh.
glass of wine, and really romance yourself. So I think it's along the same lines of when you say you matter, it's hard to look at yourself in the eyes. I think that this is true for women. That would be just as hard to look into your eyes because you know that you're lying to yourself. You have sold yourself that you don't matter. And so to sit there and say it, it's kind of like it was when we were talking about affirmations and stuff. It's like a
Uh-huh.
false affirmation. And yet, fuck, like you do matter. Like you've got to get yourself looking in the mirror and say it until you freaking mean it. And
Well,
then
and I don't know about you, and I've done this for years too. I write myself notes in Expo marker on the mirror. And I've always done it for like my kids. I would give them like little love notes or lists of things, make sure you brush your teeth, whatever, on their mirror. And then, you can just wipe it off. Um, but you matter, great big giant, you matter on
Mhm,
your mirror. It might be that reminder. If you see it enough, you'll start to believe it.
exactly.
Well, and when you see it, say it. And if it's not
Mhm.
if you don't feel like it's genuine yet,
Yeah,
you just have to keep on doing it, keep plugging.
yeah.
But
Or at least say you matter enough to drink this full glass of water.
right.
You matter enough to like put on some makeup if that's going to make you feel better. Like you matter enough to wash your face. You matter.
Moringa. You matter enough to have moringa every day because it's going to make your body feel better. But I do think that you have to think about what's important to you because some
Mhm,
people might hate flowers. Flowers might not do it for them.
mhm,
Some people might do everything they can before they go run or go to the gym. And that's what really makes them happy and gives them that dopamine, serotonin push, boost, whatever.
mhm,
So you really have to kind of do a little self examination and think, what really does make me happy? Like if I had a half an hour to do whatever I wanted to do,
mhm.
what would that be?
Well, my mom's motivation through the years, when she was still married, because she was very upset because my dad never gave her an engagement ring. She held off because they were poor. They're poor. They were struggling. He was going through med school. She was,
Yeah.
and she was in school, and then they started having a family, and
Hmm.
so she said, "It's okay. Once you make money, then we'll get my engagement ring." And he never did. And so my mom's motivation of she mattered was when we moved to Hilton Head and she got into real estate in Hilton Head, they always ran these contests of how many listings, how many, whatever. And my mom would damn near win every time because the prize was like maybe it was a certain amount of money or it was an actual piece of jewelry from this place called the Goldsmith Shop.
Uh-huh.
And so she would get these emerald bracelets and diamonds and things like that. And that was her motivator because she freaking mattered, and she was going
Mhm.
to have this nice stuff. Um, so yeah, your motivation could be vastly different, but I think I've had that message come through from spirit many, many times about the power of flowers, flower power. Um,
Mhm.
but it's that it's the
I
beauty
think there's
of
an
it.
energy about them,
Yeah,
right?
it's
There
the
I mean,
living
not only it's what
exchange.
you see, you smell, you feel it or whatever, but there's an energy about flowers. Like, it
Yep,
makes me so happy when there's flowers around.
yep. And they kind of, it's like not the dyed. You could do the dyed flowers, but stay away from those because energetically speaking,
Mhm.
they're just it's chemical,
Not from
whereas
nature.
yeah,
Yeah.
the simple flower itself, like a lot of times what I do, and I don't have one in here right now because my thing's not blooming at the moment. Um, So I don't have a flower in here.
Is
And
that sage? What do you got going on in there?
this was an arrangement from
Okay.
weeks and weeks ago that I cut. Uh,
Uh,
and I keep trimming it a little bit, and it's now survived over like 6 weeks.
wow.
So I'm kinda
Like a
going,
cockroach, it'll survive the nuclear
yeah,
explosion.
I gotta keep it going. This is rosemary.
Oh, rosemary.
And
Okay.
rosemary's
Mhm,
so good for you. So, sometimes I just rub my hand and I'm able to
mhm.
smell the rosemary, so it's, like, refreshing, and then when I have a flower to put in there, I'll cut one and put it in, and, so it looks so sad it's without it.
It's greenery now. It's greenery.
It's greenery. But yeah, there is power behind the whole idea of the flowers, and it's like a spiritual hug. There's
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
really amazing about it. But like you said, I think the other way that what we tend to do, I just like show of hands, people if they comment below, but I think a lot of times we get towards the end of the day and we don't want to go to sleep. We want the house to go quiet. I need like my husband will go and he'll sleep. He's out. I From that point I need 2 more hours to just contemplate my navel, stare at the wall, watch a show that I want to watch without violence and stuff in it,
Right.
and, you know, read some crazy thing, listen to something, whatever it is. But I guess it's like processing the day. And it's not like I'm sitting there going, oh God, it really pissed me off when this happened today. It's just not having to talk. And
Well, and I think I've told you this story because I'm a teacher. Teachers solve problems, listen to, especially elementary school. Kids ask you 7,000 questions a day, whatever. So I would get home, and at 8 o'clock, I had to go to my bed where it was quiet. I did not have to go to sleep, but people had to stop talking to me and asking me about things. And so I took that time in the evening too.
Mhm.
But and I know you do this now, in the morning with your cup of coffee and,
Yeah.
out on your lanai, giving yourself that time before everything starts, as well as when you need to wind down. But okay, so I have a weekly wanderlust for this. Make a list, make a list of the things that bring you joy. So, I mean, they may be physical things, but it might just be well, for me, it's, to have somebody come and clean my house every 3 weeks. That brings me such joy. I can't even. And does it need to be cleaned more frequently than 3 weeks? Of course it does. But when
Mhm.
I leave when they come to clean the house, and I couldn't afford this for years and years and years, and I dreamt of it. Like, it was on my vision board. It was on my like, if I could just have someone every now and then clean my house, I would be so, and some
My
people
mom
get
was the
great
same way.
well, my friend Barbie gets great joy from cleaning. Like, I'll call her and I'm like, "What are you doing?" "Oh, I've got the birds chirping around my head. I'm like,
Snow
Snow
White.
White cleaning my house." And like, I can't even imagine that because I do not like cleaning like that. But that brings her joy. So, to have the time to do what makes you happy.
Mhm.
Some people it's watching stupid things on TV. Some people it's working out. Some people it's reading a book. Some people, so what I want everybody to do is think, if you had a half an hour to yourself, what would you do? What would make you happy?
And then
List as many things as you can. Like,
yeah.
it's not just one thing that makes you happy. It used to be back in the day, ice cream. Ice cream made me happy. That was my stress buster food. Like, I would go to the ice cream if I was having a stressful day.
Mhm.
Now that I drink Moringa, I don't even really want ice cream anymore. Like, I don't have those cravings.
Yeah.
And
That's true.
also, I'm giving myself permission to de-stress throughout the day. Before, I would let that all build up,
Yep.
and then I'd be like, "All right, ice cream for dinner. That's what I'm doing, ice cream for dinner. I don't know, everybody else can have whatever." Um, I don't do that anymore. And of course, I'm retired, so it's a little bit easier. But now that I retired, my husband had strokes and now he has Parkinson's, like taking that time for myself is really difficult because someone's demanding time of me.
Mhm.
But I make and if you can't get a half an hour, give yourself 10 minutes. Like make a 10-minute list and make a half an hour list and make an all day list. Like if you had the day to like we get it on Mother's Day. Okay. No, once a year is not enough.
Yeah.
Make yourself a list of if you had all day, how would you spend that day?
Mhm. And I'm gonna say, and then once you've finished that list at the very bottom, put down what's stopping you. And anything that's getting in the way of it, you need to wrestle that demon to the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for me, what one of my favorite things to do was when my mother-in-law had a place in the mountains, um, I would go up to her place. This is a second home she had. I would go up to her place and I would bring some work with me and I would bring no one else. And I wouldn't talk for like 3 days straight. I think the longest I went that I was able to actually make work out was 5 days. Literally didn't talk for 5 days. Didn't
And
answer
that would
the
make me
phone. Didn't
completely crazy. I would not choose that ever,
Well, and
ever.
that's why I have my minivan, like, I haven't talked about this in a long time. I have my minivan set up where I took the 3rd row out, and I my husband helped me build a bed for it that I can take in and out, and, so it's so that I can go up to the mountains if I want to, and just sit and be quiet, and I've yet to do it, and this has been a
Mm,
dream of mine, so and I was thinking, "Oh, this fall I can do it." And now I'm going to New Zealand, but, hopefully in November I can, um, screw that courage on and get on the freaking road and actually do it.
yeah.
Um, it's like, what's stopping me?
Well, and
Fear.
here's another thing that I do with the 5 or 10 minutes or whatever.
Mhm.
Everybody has a place that makes them happy.
Yeah.
Some people it's the beach, some people it's a mountain, some people for
The
me it's the
library.
Hotel Hershey in Hershey, Pennsylvania,
Mhm.
because I go there to go to the spa whenever I can. But they also have this huge room. If you haven't been there, put it on your list. But they have this huge place that looks like I think it's Puerto Rico. I think it's Puerto Rico. So it has like you remember when we went in the big area? They have fountains and they have all this stuff. If I try and stop and just envision myself sitting there
Yeah.
for 5 minutes. And then it brings your heart rate down, it brings all the stress down, all that stuff, but that's something for me, I matter.
Mhm.
I can take 5 minutes to imagine myself hanging out there, that would be fun.
Well, and that brings up another thing. So if you and I know we gotta wrap up soon, um, but think about it, like, how many times do you walk into a hotel lobby, and you smell and you go, "Oh my god, this is lovely. Oh, this is so nice. I'm just spending one night," or it's one of those things of, "I never have the money to stay here," or, "I never have the time to stay here." So then just go there for lunch, you know, invite a girlfriend to go along with you, or just go and sit in, like, because you can do this. You can go into a hotel, bring a book with you and sit in one of the corners, one of the many gorgeous, layouts that they have. And you can order something, some tea, or you can just sit there with your own water bottle. They don't know whether you're a guest or not. And you can
Yeah,
sit there and enjoy the sensory overload, the beauty of it, and just sit and read a book. And you're going to feel like you're on vacation. Because how many
yeah,
times do we do that where we see all this stuff that would be like, "Oh, they've set that up so nicely. If only I had time." And it's like everyone's got hotels near them where you can, hire in hotels where they could do that.
yeah.
So just like what
Well,
you're
you can
saying.
even go to the Holiday Inn and sit in the lobby and be happy too. I mean, it's probably not as luxurious or whatever, but sometimes it's just
Mm. Yeah.
being somewhere else.
Yeah.
Not in your because I don't know if you're like this, but when I'm in my house, I feel like, "Oh, I need to do this, or I should have done that,"
Yes.
or blah, 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 blah. It's just taking yourself somewhere else. It might be, to the park down the street, or it might, wherever.
Mhm.
So, you gotta think to yourself what makes you happy, and
Yep.
you deserve it because you matter.
You absolutely do matter. Oh, I can feel that. This was a good one. I
Yeah,
love
I liked it.
um I'm so glad we talked about this. I think this is probably honestly, one of our best podcasts.
I think
Um,
so too. But I also want to say
mhm.
one of the things that you could do for yourself because you matter is some spiritual life coaching with Samantha.
Oh,
She won't tell you that herself, but that's one of the things that I do for myself is my Samantha time.
true.
Yeah. I mean, and
You get
we love each other and talk to each other every day, but
yeah.
really working on yourself is a great thing to do because you matter and it's going to make you feel better in every situation.
Mhm.
So put
Well,
that
so
on your day list, your
it's
30-minute list, whatever.
it's like a mental massage. It's, the physical massage takes out the kinks and
Yeah.
you work on yourself and remove, blocks and triggers and all that stuff. That's a mental massage. It's ironing out those emotional kinks. I guess that's a
And
good way
it's so fun. It's so funny to me. It just makes you feel lighter. Like it just makes you feel light and airy.
Well, okay, so since you brought that up, let me remind everybody that we are going to be offering the free weekly life coaching now. It's going to start in November. And this is going to be, by love offering. You want to, donate, great, wonderful, but I want this to be inclusive. And we're going to be doing all kinds of things to nurture ourselves. There'll be a topic that, is introduced most likely at the beginning, not every single time, but most often. And then it'll be time for Q&A for people to bring up what they're struggling with, what they're dealing with. And by them stepping up and questioning and asking, talking about it, people who maybe don't have the courage or, they're not ready to talk about it, they can at least listen and they can get some feedback and go, okay, how does this apply to my situation? So it's the synergy of the group. And so it's just like what you're saying.
I'm really excited about it. I think
Yeah,
it's going to be great.
this is going to be fun. And so we'll be announcing these group sessions in the Facebook podcast group. So please come join, be a member. And then if you're on my mailing list, you'll get information about it from there. And it's
And
gonna
do
be
all the things like subscribe, tell
love
your
it.
friends about how great we are. Bring it in.
Bring it in, bring it in.
Bring it in.
We matter. We matter. Okay, y'all. Thank you so much for joining and spending your time with us today.
And we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye. This is my princess wig.